Welcome to Rem and Sam. We are back,
We're back.
back again. It is not early morning. It's our regular Friday evening, and great time to record. We're right now live watching the New York Knickerbockers
What's
visiting
left of them?
the Indiana Pacers. Yeah, I don't know, man. The right now it's 79, 77. I don't know. Rem might be a little ahead, but mostly near the end of the third, as the Knicks are starting to make a run to tie this. And who knows? I mean, they're up 2-0 in this series. Rem, you got any instant thoughts since we're talking about this series right now?
Well, Anunoby was out for. I don't think he's out for the entire playoffs. I think what I saw was he was day to day. So I don't know if that report's been updated or not at the time that we're recording this, but he's out for this game. And I mean, that's obviously a big loss. And they're obviously down at like, I mean, you could argue they're two of their three best players with, especially if you consider the fact that Julius Randle's been out. They don't have Randle. They don't have Anunoby big picture, but they haven't had Randle for a while now. The version of the team that's peaked has been the version without Randle. And you think about what they've needed from Anunoby in this series. Like he was incredibly important when Brunson went to the when he was in the locker room in the last game and he was able to kind of carry their offense and be the lead scorer and really elevate his game in that way. But when Brunson's out there, he's kind of like a guy in the corner. So I get you don't have the defense and stuff, but again, as a role, like they still have Hart and DiVincenzo as the guys that are going to hustle, spread the court, do all that stuff. And as long as Brunson's running the offense and you still got the bigs, like I guess this Indiana team, I mean, like you said with the score, they're hanging right in there. So I get the Anunoby thing is again, people are and Knicks fans are ready to be cautious as well too. Like they've been like Stephen A has time and time again brought up the amount of times that Knicks fans have been suffered under this James Dolan tenure. But I mean, I think that they should win this game regardless of the fact that Anunoby's out. Because again, they still have those key Villanova pieces, which I think is the core of the team, honestly. And as long as Brunson's leading the offense, I think they're totally fine. And they've just taken the lead.
Yeah. No, it's I
Hopefully, I'm
you
not
can
spoiling it.
definitely see. Yeah, I don't know, a little bit, but it's all good. You know, whatever. What can you do?
I'll be
But
quiet.
I think, I mean, it's clear that the Knicks have the best player in the
Yeah.
game. You know, the best player out of the two teams, and it shows up every single night. And it's crazy to see that even though the Pacers try to use their depth, um, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, I think so. Last game they played 10 players while the Knicks played. I mean, really, they played only six. They did play Alec Burks like 1 minute, so technically some players touched the court. But
But six, yeah.
um, I think, yeah, that's pretty much six. So I mean, when that's four, four players, that's almost a whole starting roster of players, starting five of our players, who played more on the Pacers side, and that may sound like a really really simple way to look at it, but I think it's the main advantage that the Pacers have over the Knicks that they're not using because somehow late in these games, the Knicks, I mean, as we're seeing with our own eyes, they just have this energy to keep on going. I mean, we see Josh Hart playing hard. Um, we see your boy Brunson. He keeps grinding through these games, whether they're playing. Josh Hart played 48 minutes last game. Jalen Brunson, 32. I mean, most of their guys are playing 40 minutes, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, last game they only had 9 turnovers, which is
Mm.
crazy, and it's crazy to see how they're playing even without OG. But let's see. Yeah, in this game they also had the game going on right now. They only have 9 turnovers, but when the other team in the Pacers don't really have a standout player, Halliburton has been playing well. He's played well the last two games actually, but
The
um,
last couple of first halves,
when they
anyways.
don't, yeah, yeah. Um, but when your team doesn't really, show much resistance in terms of defense, and it just allows for a team like the Knicks who play hard to, pick their spots, keep on pushing, just hang around, keep coming back, hang around, And that's how they so far been able to be up 2-0 and 4 points in this game.
And they subbed Josh Hart out for the first time, and they said 12 consecutive quarters. So
Oh
that's
my
almost
gosh.
3 full games. That's 1 quarter short of three.
Yeah,
No, that's a couple quarters short of 3 full games, but
that's
it's a long time to play basketball
well,
consecutively
it's pretty close, you know.
in the NBA.
You know.
But
Yeah, and I mean, it is good to see Tyrese play better. I mean, I was ready to come on here and talk about, how Tyrese had, actually had a horrible series against Milwaukee. Averaged 16 and 9.
well, what were you going to say? I mean, obviously, he's playing
Less
well
than
tonight, but
30%.
what were you going
I
to say
mean,
about Halliburton?
it's 2 games in a row. I mean, it's just like, watching how we had during the in-season tournament. We're thinking, oh, is this a star blossoming before our very eyes? Like, is he going to take that step? Pretty much what we're seeing from Anthony Edwards right now. And then he gets
Same draft
injured,
class.
and then he's forced to play because of All NBA. Yeah, yeah. But now to come into his first playoffs and average 16 is a yikes. Now it was against a Bucks team that they were pretty significantly better than in some of those games. So it is good to see him turn it around here with his team on the edge of elimination. First game though, he did have only 6 points.
Yeah.
Took a total of 6 shots, 2 for 6. So first game wasn't. We saw that, but thankfully he's corrected the ship at least for the first half of these 2 games. And I mean, not everyone can match the Knicks' endurance. And Halliburton is showing that. I guess he doesn't have it to dig deep, and it's crazy. I mean, I really watching this game. I don't think, or this series, there really wasn't a point I was thinking, oh, the Knicks are going to lose this series.
Yeah. Even again, I think even with the Anunoby injury, because even when Anunoby's out there, like for as good as he is, again, his role is to be in the corner as a shooter. And a lot of the offense is Hartenstein, and you have DiVincenzo and Hart and all those guys running around off of Brunson doing their thing. But I know there's a lot of rumors right now, big picture with New York, about potential like star players that they could acquire in the offseason because they're going to have cap space. They have the picks. And again, with this, like, as great as this New York run has been, like, the Knicks fans are kind of ready to take it to the next level. And I don't know if even, well, here, let me ask you this. Like, what is the level for this team? Do they have finals expectations? Or is it conference finals has been like Stephen A's wish the whole time? Is that still kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think conference finals is where it's at. I know right now there are maybe a little hints of questions about the Celtics because they lost pretty handedly against the
Little
Cavs
hints.
at home. But yeah, it was a yikes. But I think the Celtics, if they're locked in and Porzingis should be back, they should be able to handle the Knicks, especially with their size. I think that's something that the Pacers so far haven't really had to deal with. I mean, yes, they just played the Pacers, but that was without Giannis, an older Brook Lopez, and then you have a turnstile and Dame at the guard position. So, Brunson can do whatever he literally wants, which is why he was on that 40-point game
Halliburton.
streak. So, you know, yeah, and then now he's got Halliburton and MR, one of the worst defensive teams in the league that doesn't even have, whose main player put up 6 points in a game. Like that's just not, you can't have that happen. But beyond all those points, I think the Celtics are a little bit different, a different class. I mean, and honestly, they just beat themselves. And I think last game, you could definitely point to the Cavs getting hot and them scoring. But also, the Cavs didn't. I think they didn't even score 90 points. So they definitely
In the
beat
game they
themselves in
won,
that
they got to
game.
like 118.
The Celtics.
Oh, the Celtics. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So no, I'm talking about the like long term. Like, there's not really a weakness for that team. At least facing teams in the East. So, I think they should be able to handle business. It might be like 4 or 5 games. I don't think they're sweeping New York, and definitely, I mean, they can't sweep the Knicks. And I wouldn't be surprised if it ends in 6. But yeah, there's no way they're not There's no way they are not. I don't think there's anyone. No, there's no way the Celtics aren't making the finals, in my opinion. So yeah, and then if you're the Knicks, I mean, without Randall, what were you really hoping for? You know?
So you think Randall raises the ceiling of this team in the playoffs? If he's out there, you want to see that you would add Julius Randle to this group and be like, yeah, this team is actually now a step better.
No. I mean, I think this team is playing well because they don't have Randall. It's similar to the Heat. You know, they were playing well last year because they didn't have Hero. But yeah, I don't know what they can do moving forward. I mean, who knows what happens last year? You take all those bad threes out of Randall's hands and put the ball in Brunson's hands. Who knows what happens? But now, having a 3-and-D guy at that place in Anunoby, then Randall just, obviously fits the team so much better. So I don't really know what the Knicks do moving forward. My thing has been to trade Randall. That's been the stance I've been on for a while. Now the question is who wants him. That's a little tougher. But yeah, I think right now, I mean, the Knicks, they're definitely pushing through their ceiling, and they've had an easy path. They faced the Bucks without Giannis, then they're playing Indiana with maybe hurt Halliburton. So, this is definitely not the West, but
Halliburton?
I think Halliburton. But I think definitely bringing in Randall definitely lowers their ceiling.
But you mentioned trading Randall, and again, there is like big picture stuff that is in the conversation now about what they can do going forward in the offseason. Would you are Hart and DiVincenzo approaching untouchable? And again, untouchable is strong, but they're, it's a different kind of class of guy when you're like the role guy versus the star guy. But I don't know, if it's Mitchell or if it's somebody, I don't know what the trade for the guy is, but I just, the continuity that those three guys have together. And then again, if you're just comparing Hart to a guy like Randall, if Randall, he's had his 3-point struggles in the playoffs, Hart is kind of a guy that's been clutch in big moments. I think DiVincenzo as well too, going back to the Villanova days. DiVincenzo in the Final Four just absolutely destroying Michigan in the national championship game from 3 is just something I'll never forget.
Shout out. And
DiVincenzo was maybe my favorite non-Michigan player in college at that point. And then it was oh, this is not good. He's playing my favorite team and going against one of my guys, and then he just lights up Michigan. It was not good. But Hart's able to supplement the rebounding. I don't know. The energy that those guys have, do you think that would you look to be willing to chuck those in a package for just, star player X in the summer to try to pair him with Brunson?
Oh, to get rid of the players they have now? No, I wouldn't. I mean, and I know there was a couple games where the team was fully healthy and the Knicks are oh my gosh, this team is so good. But one thing I do want to admit, I was totally wrong on DiVincenzo. I was kind of salty. He got drafted after one great game, but that's why I'm sitting here and not in an NBA office. Fair. So
it wasn't just one great game. He was on a stacked Villanova team. Yeah, but he was off the bench
at 13th.
Again, he was
Devin Booker style issue.
He's the type of guy that just wants to, contribute to winning. So maybe he's not necessarily putting points up on that Villanova team, but when he has the hot hand like he did in the national championship game, I mean, obviously he's willing to carry the offense in a sort of, in the ways that an off-ball shooter can. And the thing is, he does the same thing in the NBA. There are certain guys that are just able to do that.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, it wasn't so much that he got drafted because I knew he was an NBA player, but getting 13th, I don't know, it was a little high. It was top 15 at least. Which shout out to him.
He was the 17th pick. So this was the 2018 draft. So this is the Shea Doncic draft. If you go Mikal Bridges as well. Oh yeah, Brunson too. So kind of a stacked draft. I think this is the draft that we ended up redrafting. If you go value over replacement player, he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's in the top 10. He's number 10 in the draft.
Hey,
So
shout out to
17 is
him.
kind of a
He's
steal.
figured it out. I messed up. I'll admit I was wrong on that. But
He has a higher VORP
I
than Jaren
wouldn't touch
Jackson.
anything. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. But I wouldn't touch anything about this team. I wouldn't, just with how Tibbs is, how hard they play, and it's similar to the Heat culture where we hear the whole Villanova thing. They all play together. You all want to make fun of it. And then we see a game last game two, where the three of them combined for like 76 points, I think it was. One of them went for 15,
Yeah.
15, 15.
And they were 90 plus in game one.
Yeah, so it's like we want to sit here and make fun of it, but they're playing out of their minds. And to have that endurance and just how hard they play, unless you're 100% sure of a star you're getting, we're talking Jokic, we're talking, untouchable players like Giannis, something like that. Hey, Giannis and Brunson, that wouldn't be bad.
Is Durant in that category?
He is a bit old. He is old. I don't think so, because now he's quit on like 3 teams, 3-4
So
teams.
it is so they are kind of, again, approaching that like untouchable-ish kind of level, because if you're getting Jokic, I mean, you're doing what you can to get. I mean, you're throwing everything into that package to make it work. So I mean, like you're like, if it's not one of the top 7 guys. Randall.
Should I say this on air? I think I'd give up Randall for Bradley Beal.
No. You would take on the extra $20 million for Bradley Beal?
Sneaky on there. Look, he just got to come off the bench. We know Bradley Beal can shoot. He plays horrible defense. Tibbs can yell at him a bit. Get off that contract. I mean, I don't know if the Suns are saying yes, really, but Randall has a huge contract too.
So Randall is on. The contract he's currently on is 4 years, 117. So he's $30 million a year this year, this upcoming season, and then he's got a player option for 32 the year after that. And I think Bradley Beal's at like 50 plus.
Maybe it wouldn't work. We're just throwing out names.
But you're saying if the contracts were even, you would do
it? With Klay Thompson. Yeah, I think about it. Let me see. How did he do this? Playoffs.
Klay for Randall?
I think. Yeah, I don't know.
The tough end of the dynasty.
Yikes. They just need, honestly, another 3-and-D player. Like, if there was another OG Anunoby out there, let's see.
If there's just another perfect 3-and-D wing that had also happened to have gone to Villanova back in the day and is in the NBA right now, like, I don't know who that would be.
That's crazy.
Potentially you could add to this.
I mean, they could just trade him across town. I know what you're saying. If you really want to tank, who else would be better than Julius Randle?
If you have Randall and Simmons on the same team.
There we go. We figured it out.
They're not. No, this is actually next level basketball. We've got all these point forwards, these forwards that can kind of handle the basketball a little bit. The Knicks,
aside from the citywide rivalry, that would be like a crazy team. Like Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Brunson, DiVincenzo, and who's the third
guy?
Josh Hart. Hey, you go small ball. You get Josh Hart in there.
Oh, Anunoby at the 5?
Off the bench. Yeah.
If they had Bridges and were running that lineup, are they the favorites versus the Celtics? They're not the favorites, but in our hearts, are they the favorites?
No. Because Porzingis. But I mean, if Giannis doesn't stay with the Bucks, and you can't trust Embiid to stay healthy. Are they like, the Houston Rockets to the Warriors?
I don't know if they're going to get Embiid.
Like, you're not 100% sure that's... No, but I'm saying if Embiid's never healthy, which he hasn't been, so it doesn't matter if they get another piece up in Philly, and then, Giannis leaves. which
for
he
like
could,
the Knicks' path to the
or
finals.
I mean, yeah. Or I mean, even with Giannis, that's going to be a tough series. I don't think it'd be because of Dame. I don't think people realize how bad Dame is on defense. Like that 30, it's just. So you have Brunson cooking him all game. I don't know.
I think the Knicks would, with the way they're playing right now, I would almost pick them to beat any team in the East. And I don't want to, again, I don't, they haven't even gotten past the Pacers yet, but they are beating them by 4 points as of right now. So if they close out this one, it's 3-0. The series is, definitely over. Halliburton is going crazy, though. He's up to 30 plus right now. So he's doing what he can. He just got the steal as well, too. He's in transition on Josh Hart. Lays it in. No foul. Doesn't look like they're going to give him a foul. Pacers have cut it to 2.
Man, he was hearing me talk smack.
I think he's listening to the pod. He's got. Does he have a live feed?
But they know this is an elimination game. I mean, no one's ever come back from 3-0. And that's why I don't care what's on the schedule. This is coming out Saturday, but I'm pretending it's live. If you got anything on your schedule, you got to clear out. You got to clear out Friday night. You got to clear out tonight. This game is. I mean, the Nuggets, Timberwolves,
the game that's about to happen?
The game that's about to happen. I know everyone's listening afterwards. This game, it's going to be NBA history. It really will. I think Anthony Edwards, either he's going to take it up to another level and, become MJ Light again. He's going to have to drop 40 to knock out the Nuggets. I'm telling you right now, something crazy is going to have to happen because the champs are not going to go down. And on the road, Minnesota is going to be bumping. You thought that was one thing I was surprised about, not to get really off track, but about OKC's home crowd. Yeah. I was surprised how quiet they were near the end of that game.
Oh.
I thought they're all wearing the t-shirts and stuff. Mm-hmm. And like they're trying to shoot free throws and they're quiet and like it was super quiet, but Minnesota will be the exact opposite. It's going to be rocking.
Yeah. And where would you put this game for anticipated games in NBA hit like that you've seen? Is this the most anticipated non-finals game?
Yeah, probably since like that Game 7 Warriors Rockets.
Oh, with Durant.
That was
the famous
Curry's banged up in that series.
The 0 for 27 game or whatever.
Yeah.
Because obviously the number one game of all time, just for us, the number one playoff series of all time is going to be that Cavs Warriors series, 2016.
2016, yeah.
It's just what it is.
Nothing can top that.
The 3-1 comeback, but the I was gonna say it would have involved again that Warriors run. That Rocket series was the closest that they had looked because, like you're saying, Durant got hurt in that game. Curry has to go bonkers in the second half of Game 6 in order to keep him in it. I guess Game 7 OKC versus Golden State, when Golden State was also in 2016, when Golden State was also doing their 3-1 comeback.
Yeah. But that's further back, though. As we're talking about the last one. But yeah.
And the Rockets only lost that Game 7 by 9 as well, too, going back.
Yeah, no, if they actually hit a 3, if they had Chris Paul, they would have won that game. Wow, shout out Pascal Siakam cooking.
Yeah, Siakam, future Sixer. Harden was
Spicy pig.
Harden was 12 for 29 from the field, and he's 2 for 13 from 3. 6 of 8 from the free throw line.
But yeah, this game, do you think Anthony Edwards, it's time, we're all first takey today, so we'll just keep it up. Could Anthony Edwards really take like face of the league status? Because there has been this bubbling resentment among viewership, some of the players, of just how many international players are dominating the game. And it's similar to the whole, we'll talk a little bit about Drake and Kendrick, but it's similar to that whole Drake thing where it's like, you do realize, like, not saying that Drake is better than Kendrick, but you do realize, like, as a whole, Like Drake is like one of the best artists of all time. And like you do realize like all these international players are like some of the best players of all time. But then there's just this resentment you can see against that's just bubbling up. And so now that you catch it slipping at one point, everyone's pouncing on top of it. But I don't know. I mean, I really think a lot of people want Anthony Edwards to be the best player in the league, to be the guy, just because of how nasty he is. I mean, Embiid never plays, and I think, a lot of people around sports are competitive. They want competitive. They want people, to trash on. We want our heroes, like, apparently for at least, while they're heroes, to really like dominate and to like do it in a nasty way. And then they keep doing that, and then they become villains, and then we want to end them. But for now, and I think the whole Jokic, I don't care, I'm horse racing, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think people are sick of it. I mean, Giannis is cool, but he's not American. I don't know. I mean, have you noticed it? Like, we're like, oh my gosh, we got an American player. He's great. Let's go.
Well, everybody talks about it. Like you're saying, all the sports shows definitely say that nobody is gravitating toward these international players. And I guess that is true. Like, just in conversation, like there is obviously these players are held in regard as the best players in the league, but there's just not that buzz and excitement like that we are just seeing with this Anthony Edwards run. And like you're saying, the Jokic thing, I understand, like just his attitude toward the game. Like even Duncan, who is just like a quiet guy, he was never dismissive of things. Like he was still like, pretty like locked in, and he was just like a low key dude, like, the way Jokic. And the funny thing is, like, winning this MVP down 0-2, he seemed like a little bit more like, be like, oh yeah, this is like, my shout out to the guys. We really did this. This was a collective. This was a group effort. We're super proud. Like, I'm humbled. I don't know what to say. And it was also his third one as well too, which puts him in historic territory. But the Jokic one, it makes sense. The Embiid one as well too, where he has also kind of just stepped back a little bit from trying to like push himself out there publicly, where he was always, trolling on social media and doing these things. And he still is active, but he's a little less committed to that. But why do you think Giannis, I don't want to say hasn't caught on that way, but he's going to be 30 this year. So if the changing of the guard is officially happening, like, I don't want to say didn't, but like, why didn't Giannis catch on as the face of the, like, why didn't people gravitate toward Giannis as a personality? Because he seems to check all the boxes in that regard. I mean, he is sort of quiet and reserved, but he's personable. You see him doing commercials now. He seems like a fun hang. Like, why did Giannis never truly ascend to face of the league status?
Because I think there's still, first of all, there's still part of him not American. I mean, there's just, I don't know. NBA is in America, and most of the audience is American. And so they're going to better relate to an American. It's just, it's sometimes that simple. But I think also I think with Giannis, he's been injured a lot. He had that one championship shout out, but then, he was out the next game, or the next series. The next couple of series, he's been out pretty bad. And I think, over this season, we've seen, it's been only like about a year, but we've seen Anthony Edwards slowly creep up. And I think the super boost, obviously, into popularity has been his likeness with MJ. And I think that's why, we haven't seen, there's other players, Jason Tatum, other guys who played decently. But, I think people really want Anthony Edwards to be a star just because it's like, oh my gosh, he looks like MJ, he shoots like MJ, he walks, he looks like MJ, And, people love nothing more than love nothing like a sequel. That's why we keep having movies. I know people always complain, oh, sequels are bad. Well, they wouldn't make them if people didn't go and watch them. And so I think we just want him to be great so bad because he looks like what we've seen great be. And we'll see. I mean, right now the stats he's putting up are, Hall of Fame, like upper echelon Hall of Fame, not like he's not GOAT status, but he's definitely like competing with like top 15. Like the names he's with in terms of the stats he's putting up are, only top 15, top 20 players of all time are doing stuff like he's doing. With efficiency, he's doing it.
So that's interesting that you say that we like him because we've seen, he like replicates what we've seen with greatness before. But if it's a replicate of MJ, we have seen a replicate of MJ before in the league in Kobe Bryant. And I know Kobe Bryant is from, especially like from a Hooper standpoint, like the kids that play basketball, and you see it with the kids that are in the NBA, like he's definitely held in that regard. But again, even as like a face of the league type of thing, I get, he's crossing paths with LeBron, but those early years, was it like just, I don't, not to get super real, but like, was it the trial stuff in those early years? Like, why didn't Kobe catch on the same way that Anthony Edwards has? Is it just all that, extracurricular stuff that was happening?
I mean, he's still pretty popular. I mean, the Lakers fans are diehard. And something we've been hearing a little bit more because now we're starting to think about LeBron's legacy, as always. But like him, looking at the full picture of his Lakers run, the experience hearing from, shout out to Bill Simmons and Ryan Russell who live in that area, talk about like Kobe stands, and it's even less budging than MJ. At least with MJ, like you have things you could argue in terms of him being the GOAT, but yeah, just the indifference to any rhyme or reason that, to dissuade from thinking that Kobe is, the best ever to play, just shows the loyalty that the Lakers have. And so I would argue actually Kobe did catch on a bit, but at the same time, he also had a superstar teammate in Shaq. He did have another superstar, and you look at MJ, what's his face? Scottie Pippen. Like he was, he's one of the best players, but I know the Last Dance tried to make it seem that he was the second best player in the league, and like, people in the moment are like, no, there's no shot. But yeah, he's not Shaq.
MVP,
he's not
the
Shaq.
MVP thing that season was kind of real as well too. He was a very high level All NBA guy, but I mean, yeah, Shaq's like a top 12 player of all time.
Yeah, and he did get 2 rings without Shaq, but at that point he was not. He definitely, his grip on the league wasn't as strong as like 2000, 2001. So, I don't know. I mean, we're seeing, Anthony Edwards in his prime, and, his second option is Cat, and a losing player. And so that's the thing, is that this team without him has shown to be like, he's taken players like Rudy Gobert, who's been known to be a losing player, Cat, who's known to be like a losing kind of player, Rudy Gobert in terms of off the court, and Cat on the court. And, shout out Jaden McDaniels, putting up stats, but he's the real engine of this team. And I don't know if he's going to win it all, but I definitely, if he gets past Denver, I don't think there's really a limit here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to just say if they beat Denver, like they're a shoo-in to win the title, but it would Denver would seem like the biggest obstacle to getting past, to winning the title. But I guess what I meant to say with the MJ stuff with Anthony Edwards was the MJ stuff with Kobe, it always feels like he's viewed as more of a ripoff, whereas with Anthony Edwards, people are ready to crown him like the next MJ. Instead of being in that Kobe sort of, oh, well, he's just ripping off. Whereas, again, Kobe was sort of off-brand MJ, whereas Anthony Edwards is like, oh, this is actually the second coming of the superstar.
Yeah, but the thing with Ant is that he looks like him. And that's a hill that
have you seen
Kobe
the theories
or BK never get it?
That
yeah,
are
I've seen it. Like that when he got born was about the time that MJ was going crazy. He very well
MJ was in a
be
phase.
His son. He very well could be his son.
I think they need to do a DNA test.
He could be.
Can one of the streamers do that as like a pay-per-view?
He could be, but it's also
the MJ Anthony Edwards DNA test.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's also how the team loves him, and I don't know if with the Bucks, if you could really hear how he loves him, because that's one of the things with Giannis earlier on was that he wouldn't really train with any players, like he kept himself to himself, so he didn't really get that around the league. But we've seen Ant at Team USA, He's been around the players, and that's one of the things I love is that you can see first of all, he's a very genuine person. You can see he's very genuine, and that makes him really lovable. And you can see the respect in his face when he talks about the Nuggets, who he's beating up on. And that's something I do love with Kevin Durant as well. He can acknowledge, oh, I did not outplay Kevin Durant. He outplayed me, but our team outplayed them. And so it's that honesty that he has.
But he did also outplay Kevin Durant.
Well, I don't know. You look at the stats. It's a little closer than give her credit, but I do think that that's what makes Ant great for the modern age is that he can respect the ability of his opponents and still be like, I'm going to destroy him. With MJ, he's like, oh, he's great. I can shoot the three better than him. I can, he's going to be giving all these guys crap. So he can smack talk, but at the same time, he can also recognize the greatness of the players around him. And I think that makes him really lovable in terms of, it gives off the humbleness that seems genuine from his teammates, comes off as genuine. And, he's just a kid. And so that on top of his personality, and I think with Kobe, it's just, I want to kill everyone and, all that. And, that's a little bit tougher to love. So I think Ant, it's just, he's an easier star to love, and everyone loves a winner. And who knows? In a year or two, he'll maybe, if he doesn't win this one and then next year he gets knocked out in the second round again and blah, 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 then, this conversation gets all flipped.
And the teammate thing is a really great thing to point out too, especially when trying to connect it back to Kobe, because I think everybody that plays from his, nobody's going to say a bad thing about Kobe Bryant, but in the moment, I don't know if there was that same camaraderie, like you're saying, that Anthony Edwards has with these guys and just a personal level. And the thing with MJ, MJ definitely was going to kill anybody on the court, but he also seems like he was kind of like a fun dude, right? He did gamble a lot. He golfs. He's obviously super intense, but there is a fun side to MJ. And it seemed like Kobe just went full, Mamba mentality. He went full in on the killer side. And Kobe never indulged his Vegas side the way MJ did a little bit. And I know, the Pippen stuff, again, the Last Dance stuff, maybe it didn't age great with all the teammates. But.
Yeah. And he argued with Shaq. The team chemistry was down. Yeah. He kept having negative team chemistry. And and that's the thing is RIP Kobe, but he wasn't perfect. And that's, you still have to have an honest, recollection of him.
This is something I was going to ask you a little bit later, but do you think Kobe is a better or worse player right now? With the way not just the spacing, but the way that I was reading an article by shout out to Kurt Goldsberry, who put out an article that was an excerpt from a book that he's writing. I wish I remember the title of the book, but it was about how the NBA is evolving around these heliocentric players, which I think is definitely true with where the NBA was. I don't know, with the modern big, I don't know where it's headed, but do you think with that style of play, Kobe's a better, we're more willing? Because the thing he was back when Kobe was putting up the high usage rate stuff, it just wasn't as common. So if he's doing that in today's era, do you think we view Kobe's game a little bit differently?
Yeah, I think he would be definitely seen as a lot less selfish. I think players would be a lot more used to it. But I don't think the team chemistry would really be different. You're seeing quotes out of the Mavericks with people saying that, once Luka checks out, people are, able to breathe. They're able to play their game. And then when it doesn't work out, it's a really tough scene. You see the Hawks.
Who's trying to breathe on the Mavericks? Is it PJ Washington's I need to cook while Doncic is off the court?
Exactly. I don't know. Derrick Jones Jr. He's been
give me the ball.
He's been playing in his role really well. I loved what I've seen from him. Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think but I think with Kobe, it definitely would have been better. He would have played better. Spacing would have been better, I think he definitely would have been looked on better in terms of history. Now the question is would he have 5 rings though? Because you look at the era he played in, you know,
I
I don't
think
know
if
if
him
there's
and
really
Shaq
an
are together,
argument
they
that
get
there
those
wasn't as
rings.
much talent.
They probably just get those rings regardless of where they're.
Well, yeah, Shaq doesn't leave.
But does he get the 2
Does he
with
get those
Powell?
last 2?
Yeah.
Exactly. Does he get the 2 with Powell? Because
Does
I mean,
Anthony
you
Edwards
look
just
at the
lock up
talent in the
Kobe?
league; it's not even close.
Powell has to guard Jokic.
Exactly.
Lamar Odom on Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, I'm just saying. We look just looking at the talent in the league. I don't think it's really an argument to say that the talent is a lot better now than it was back then. So,
I will say
I'm not arguing those 2 with or those 3 with Shaq.
Yep.
They get in almost any era, but yeah, those other 2 are the ones where you're like, and it is a difference between 5 and 3. Big difference.
One of the other things I wanted to say with the Anthony Edwards MJ thing was, I get from the the personality and the athletic standpoint, he kind of checked all the boxes. But one of the other reasons I was kind of hesitant to like fully commit there and fully commit to him as well too versus other guys like him versus Shea was I didn't think Anthony Edwards had like the bag that Shea had. Like I thought even going into the playoffs, like Shea, if you just like need to get a shot off, like I just thought, Shea's going to be able to do that 1v1 a little bit better than Anthony Edwards did. But he had a move on Aaron Gordon this last game where he got like he started on like one side of the court and then he lost the ball to start the possession, but got it back and then like moved across, like they switched it like 3 times and then Gordon ends up on him and then just hits Gordon with this little like mid-range crossover jumper. And that was the first time I was like, oh, that's like an actual MJ shot. Like that's an actual Anthony Edwards actually like has a bag now. He's not just because I think I call a couple. I don't even remember how far back at this point, but I think I to me he was a little bit more Wade-ish than he was like MJ.
Yeah.
But now with the bag that he's starting to develop in the playoffs, he is like, okay, fully past MJ. And now it's like, okay, if he is going against Shea, like, I mean, Shea's just my guy. So I've had a hard time, like anybody versus Shea outside of Wemby. It's tough to compare. But now the shot making stuff is start to elevate where it's like, okay, I can see if we're even just talking about that skill specifically, it's now on comparing to levels of guys like Shea, even Tatum's just bag like off the dribble type stuff. You could say like, his 2K animation package would just be a little more, he would have more options than Edwards. But I mean, Edwards in this playoffs has really started to open that up a little bit, and that's been impressive. But the Pacers are climbing back in. They're up by 1 right now. Quick update.
Shout out Naismith. Playing some great defense. And I think what has taken Anthony Edwards to that next level has been him playing within the team, and that's what all the greats have realized after having, those huge scoring outbursts and not being able to make it deep into the playoffs, is realizing that you need your teammates to make it to that last 20%, that last finish line. And your teammates aren't going to be playing that well if they never touch the ball. And, Donte right now is trying to bend that role to his will. But, it's a lot of that team is, playing well because they are getting the ball. And Donte we have seen him become less and less ball dominant in the playoffs. I mean, I think I've seen a lot more, Kyrie attacking, a lot more Derrick Jones Jr. Playing. So I think with the Timberwolves, seeing Jaden McDaniels really take a step and, at one game even outplay Kevin Durant, seeing Cat continuing to do what he does, but seeing Cat on the defensive end actually give that effort and, help Rudy Gobert. I think those, just everyone pitching in, you can see that energy from Anthony Edwards really seeping throughout the team and really energizing them to now be, with the chance to sweep the champs. So far they're undefeated in the playoffs.
Can we give Cat his props for a second? Because are people going to remember the fact that they didn't have Gobert for the last game? And I know Gobert like gets all the memes and stuff, but I thought, just defensively on Jokic, like the size and the options that you have to throw at him, like you're missing a huge piece of that. And then just all the other rim protection stuff that he provides as well, too, when we're talking about Murray attacking off of screens. But I mean, to start the game, it was Cat to be honest, like I was going back and watching the game this afternoon. Like Cat kind of took it to Jokic in game 2. Like it's just like defensively, he started on him at first, and then Jokic was on Cat as well too. And they had to switch Jokic off of Cat like halfway through the first quarter because Cat was, like if you're not gonna step out and guard me, I'm gonna switch to 3, and he's too fast to go by him. Defensively he was competing, and they were sending doubles as well too. Like when they checked Nas Reed into the game, now they're sending 2 bigs at Jokic, and I know the Timberwolves' commitment to defense has been insane this postseason, but like Cat was outstanding in game 2, and to again raise that level without Gobert to take the defensive challenge, like again, former number 1 overall pick was like supposed to be the franchise guy, and I don't think that he's been viewed as a number 2 in this run the way that we viewed other number 2s. And there might be, reasons for that. But I mean, the way he played in that game too, again, like that was a real, like, okay, Anthony Edwards did need a little bit of help. And a lot of the Karl Anthony Towns stuff that they've been doing has really opened up Edwards offensively as well too. So, I mean, Cat has really risen to the occasion. And I mean, in terms of being a playoff guy, I know the foul thing has been an issue as well too. Continually, that's just kind of who Cat is as a player. But he was locked in defensively against Jokic, and just offensively, he's just been an incredible mismatch right now. Like Murray, I mean, he's just going to hit the 3 every time they switch out a smaller guy onto him. So he is really I mean, and McDaniels defensively, maybe you say he's the number 2 on that team, but Towns is really, I think, taking his game up another level as well.
No, he has, and that's one of the things I wondered, in the tiny corner of my heart, of my NBA heart, is are they a better team without Gobert? I mean, having bigs like Reed and Towns who can space the floor but still bring that size, and they're both pretty agile for how big they are. I mean, you have those guys. You have Jaden McDaniels. You got they call him not Nikhil Alexander-Walker. You got Mike Conley. I mean, I quietly like this team more without Gobert, but you don't want to have that variability on defense. But just making Jokic work on that defensive end, you can see him get tired on the offensive end. You can see it happen. But, you see at the same time Gobert make plays like being, in the first person in a while, at least from what I've seen, blocking that alley-oop from Jokic to Gordon, which seemed like an unbeatable play. It seemed like the play on 2K you keep spamming. But, man, looks like Halliburton can't make a shot to save his life. This game is getting close here.
We got less than a minute left.
I know. Indiana up by 1. Nembhard with a 3. Another miss. Are they about to get another rebound? Low-key, I think the league is making this game continue longer. I know everyone wants to say, the league wants to help New York.
They need to end the Pacers because don't the Fever need this arena? Caitlin Clark? Oh, Brunson! What's your time?
What happened? Oh, they called it goaltending. I'm at 54 seconds. They just called goaltending on McBride.
I'm at 30, so I'm a little bit ahead. I've already seen the next couple of plays.
I'm assuming Brunson came down and hit a shot. Oh gosh.
This game's going crazy.
It's so loud that the mic can't even hear.
You didn't pick any of that up? Yeah. Only the people on Spotify are going to just see my arms waving around after seeing this shot. But I can't spoil it for Sam. I'm in front of him on the stream.
Oh, my gosh. I just saw Tyrese take a horrible 3. Oh. Shout out Halliburton.
What have you thought of
watching?
What have you thought of for the Pacers more watching them against the Knicks in terms of offense? Do they need, in terms of scoring, do they need a number two? Like, do they need another person to complement Siakam and go behind Halliburton? Or do they need a number one scoring option? Like, what have you seen from the Pacers?
Is Halliburton really a number one option?
I mean,
Can
obviously
we rely on
Halliburton can be
Halliburton?
the lead guard, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm asking. Do you think Halliburton can
Uh,
be? Can
it
he do the
is
Brunson
he a
thing?
cornerstone of a championship team?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, he
exactly.
is. But can he be your
Could
primary?
he be? I don't know. He's been so unreliable in and
Well, he's been
out.
great
I
tonight.
don't know. Yeah. No, he's been solid. I don't. We'll see. I don't. This is definitely one of those teams where you have so many young players. You're just like, I don't. You don't really want to mess with it. Just kind of want to see who develops out of it. Um, because it's you don't have. I mean, so far from what we've seen with uh, Tyrese, he's not at that other godly level yet, or hopefully he can heal up and get back to that level. But he's definitely one of the better guards in the league. But I personally think they still need a number one option. They still need a cornerstone because I don't think Halliburton can be that. But maybe Halliburton's just injured and that's why he's not playing great.
It very well could be because I mean, you watch him in these games, and like tonight, like he has just been hitting some crazy threes off the dribble. But he had one over
Yeah,
DiVincenzo where it was like kind of he stumbled off the dribble and went to pump fake, and then
exactly.
DiVincenzo like flew by him and then shot it up. So he's been making difficult shots. He needs to clean up some of his actual shot creation on the perimeter to actually get better looks. I think if he wants to be that lead guy, but I mean, the thing is, when he's in heat check mode, he does have. You're like, okay, yeah, this guy can probably lead your team in scoring. But you see, like, what that requires to be your number one guy. And you're saying to be inconsistent. Like, Brunson on the other side, that's just the complete opposite. I mean, he's been the exact definition of consistency at the highest level. It's like 40 points a night. And when we're talking about winning a
Yeah.
championship, like, I mean, you need Halliburton to be in that 27 play. He's going to be an automatic 27 every night for a playoff run.
Yeah, and I mean he'll be about there, but I mean you're as a Pacers team, like the expectations aren't really to get the championship. I mean the Pacers is kind of the exact opposite of the Lakers. They don't really need a
Oh,
star. Their fans are gonna watch whatever. As long as they're decent. You know, as long as there's a reason to come to games, they're fine. Um, but it's heart of basketball kind of thing, and they've been solid the last couple of years. They've been kind of like really mediocre, um, and I think the Pacers fans are fine with that. I don't, so I think Tyrese, he's gonna stay there. They're gonna develop whatever they have. I mean, it took them forever. They never traded Miles Turner. To get Tyrese, they had some bonus for what was it, 2-3 years. Like
yeah.
this is a very boring team. Like they're front out. They don't really do big moves, and obviously they're not going to be in a hurry to get rid of the first decent star they get in Halliburton. So I don't think anything's going to happen.
Yeah, they're not going to get rid of
Um,
him.
but Brunson yelling at the refs after the game. Shoot. I wonder if they're gonna. All right, was it similar, or was that the? That was another team. That was the 76ers that were.
Ever what?
No, it was the 76ers who were complaining to the league about not getting the timeout.
Oh. But the Pacers did complain to the league.
Yeah. Oh, the Pacers did?
Yeah, this
Oh,
past
yeah, about that game one, or was it game two?
game one and two. I think they submitted like 80
Yeah.
plus bad calls.
93, yeah. Well, it worked. They were able to play football with Jalen. I mean, there's one play where Hartenstein just gets held. Like, he just gets held backwards. He just gets pulled backwards. Like, that's a foul in football, let alone basketball.
Are you stock up or stock down on Carlisle after this series? Because I think he definitely got his props with. I think a lot of people thought this Indiana team overachieved. And I don't know if you know the final result for the
Yeah.
game tonight, but I got the final. But are
What
you
was it? 109.
are you is your stream caught up? Did it go final for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, the
Yeah.
Pacers get the win. It's 2-1. Game 5 is actually going to have some
Mm-hmm.
stakes to it, or Game 4, sorry. But I mean, he
Okay, four. Yeah.
finally finally puts Neesmith on Brunson, which is something that Legler was saying after Game 1, like right away, like, hey, you need to you need to get a
Yeah.
little more physicality on Brunson. Nemhard, I think Brunson's shooting like 60% when Nemhard is just switched onto him. He can just take him into the post and play make and do whatever he wants out of there.
Exactly.
When
He's too
Nem
small.
when Nemhard's guarding him. But did you? I don't know. It seemed like Game 2 that Neesmith he should have at least gone to that a little bit more. And then offensively, it's not like they have a ton of sets that they go to.
Yeah.
They were doing a little bit more of that tonight. But it's not like this is, I get like Carlisle is definitely, I think, again, maximized or not maximized, but this team has definitely had a good season. But have you been like, oh yeah, Carlisle is that dude after this series?
No. No, I mean, it took him, what, 11 years? No, it was since 2012 since he won a playoff series.
That Dirk title, 2011?
Yeah. It was somewhere there. It's been over a decade since he's won a playoff series until this year. So, I don't, I think I think he's good if you are, like, say the Rockets, you've been a bad team, kind of what they've done with Udoka. You've been a really bad team and you want to get to be average. But if you really want to take that next step and win in the playoffs, I don't think he's the one. But
wow, you're right. The last playoff series win up until this season was that finals victory. That's crazy. And then if you go back the couple of years before that, so they make the finals the first time in 05-06, and then the Wade thing, the refs, it might be sketchy, but Wade gets the win with Shaq. Then they're 6 games, 5 games,
coughing, sneezing.
Second round, basically 2 second-round appearances since that first finals victory, now 3 with the Pacers.
Dang, Jokic only had 16 in game 2. But yeah, no, you're right. Carlisle, he's low key, like under the radar. Has one of the worst records as a coach right now.
He's like under the radar mid.
For him to not get fired, yeah, he's under the radar bad.
I don't know. He's not bad. Is he better? He's better than Quinn Snyder. Yeah. Would you rather have Quinn Snyder or Rick Carlisle?
Ooh, no, that's close. That's close. I'd rather take a chance on a player like Charles Lee than Rick Carlisle. Yeah,
bring
I'd rather
Borrego
take
back.
A chance on a young assistant. He was dumb bogus. He should have never left. What was it, Dave Yerger? Dave.
You'd bring in Jaeger, the Jägermeister.
Jaeger, yeah.
Do a Jaeger bomb? You'd rather do a Jaeger bomb than Rick Carlisle?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying Rick Carlisle is Darvin Ham, but he's definitely gotten away with a lot.
Kenny Atkinson? Would you rather have Kenny Atkinson or Rick Carlisle?
I'd take Kenny.
Steve Nash?
Who would you take?
Steve Nash or Rick Carlisle?
Would you take Steve Nash over him?
I'd still take Carlisle. I mean, Carlisle's been to 2 finals.
With drag to 2 finals is what you said? With Dirk?
Okay, he's a draggable coach. Is Steve Nash draggable? Is the question.
No, one of the things I think
Mark Jackson?
I saw a stat that's like all of LeBron's coaches without him haven't won, like, I think a finals or something. Haven't won like a championship without him.
True, because Spoelstra hasn't got another ring since then.
Yeah.
Ty Lue. Would you rather have Mark Jackson or Rick Carlisle? Mark Jackson used to play for the Pacers. They could bring in Pacers legend Mark Jackson. Point guard, coach up Halliburton.
No, I'm taking Rick Carlisle. Ooh, shout out Anthony Edwards already draining. The game started.
The Nuggets or the Wolves are already cooking.
And that's the thing is that in the interview after the last game and what's killed this team, Mike Malone said they have to win the first quarter. They have to. And it was bad enough at home that they're struggling in the first quarter. You get this crowd going from the first quarter on. Oh, my gosh. You got Cat draining logo threes. This is not.
Gobert is back. Cat is on Jokic to start.
Did you see that clip where? Did you see that clip where Gobert was talking about where he said he texted Finch that he was thinking about missing Game 3?
Would you have missed Game 2 for the birth of your first child?
No, I would have flown out. You got private jets. You're telling me you can't you show up halftime of the game. You know, you can't tell me that.
Play the second half.
You know, was the kid born right in the middle of the game? Like the labor was happening during the shots? Because if it wasn't,
would you miss the birth of your child for a regular season game?
No,
not 82 of them.
No.
First round?
No. First round? Well, what would you miss? What would you miss for the bird?
Yeah, I feel like once you're in the playoffs,
the play-in game?
The play-in might even be, because the play-in is one and done. The play-in might even be more. Is the play-in more priority than like a game 2?
Probably, yeah. I actually would agree. Yes, that's an elimination game.
Especially game 2. It's early in the series. You're up 1-0.
Exactly.
Does Gobert miss it if it's game 5?
Yeah, hopefully my girlfriend, never hears this, but like unless the baby is coming out right that moment, like during the game, like you're telling me, chances are what I think happened, the kid got born and like he left or he stayed with the kid through the night, which shout out to him for being a great dad, but I'm just saying you couldn't stay like with the kid for 1 hour instead of like 10. I don't know. It's up to you. It's whatever your morals are, what you prioritize. And he prioritized the thing that lasts more in life. So, and the thing is that like a year from now, no one's going to think about that, to be honest. But your family is definitely going to remember you not being there for the birth of your first kid. So, I don't know. Maybe Gobert is the smart one in this situation. I mean, who's really, if they win this series, like, is anyone going to be like, well, it does affect Gobert's legacy that he missed game 2? Like, or his next contract comes up and they're like, we want to give you the max, but we got to knock $5 million off because you missed game 2, 2024. You missed game 2 for the birth of your kid, so we actually can't max you out. Like, we can't give you as much money as we wanted.
What's worse, the people on Twitter reminding him that he missed the game, or his fiance reminding him that he missed the childbirth? I think he'll take the people on Twitter.
Exactly.
He can always silence his phone.
Exactly. So, I think Gobert, actually, I just talked myself into Gobert being right.
So now, there you go. See, Naya might want to listen to this. This worked out. You've talked yourself
into it. Now she does want to, yeah.
You talked yourself into it. You want to be at the birth of your kid if you're in game 2, Ultimate Frisbee Finals, 7-game series.
If I'm in Nationals for Frisbee, I don't know. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling.
Now the Frisbee's a different topic. I didn't know we were talking about Frisbee.
Yeah. Jeez Louise.
What level of Ultimate Frisbee?
Shout out to Rem. He put so much work into this rundown, and we're just jumping all over the place. This was supposed to be the RIP episode, a whole lot of life episode. I love how we're like 2 hours in. We actually start the pod. I guess we already talked about Anthony Edwards ending Joker. I guess we could talk about Jimmy Butler's beefing with Pat Riley. Do you think Jimmy Butler could actually leave the Heat? Because, like, he is old. He's 34?
34, I think, yeah.
And And like, yeah, I don't, outside of Bam, is there really I mean, I don't think I think everyone else could be traded. I don't know. If you're the Heat front office, what are you doing this offseason?
I'm probably keeping him around. And to be honest, if you ask me right now, I don't think he would. I think if you ask me right now, I think he would finish this contract with the Heat, still playing for the Heat. But this is like
how he wants to.
This is how every story like this starts, where you're like, oh no, that's not it. But every time there's like a initial sign, it means it's probably like, I mean, it just means like people are starting to keep track of things. And once people start to keep track of things get personal, and then you start holding grudges and relationships start getting fractured. And once that stuff starts becoming public as well, too, you know that after it's made public, it wasn't just made public as it started. It made public. There was a point to where it was like, okay, now it's time that, or at least that now, it's gone on long enough to where it was able to spill out. So I think, and just like being in Miami, I think Jimmy Butler really loves Miami and just being in the city. And I think the Heat thing too has been really beneficial for him. The way I don't want to say allowed him to, rest and do all that stuff, but just what they've required of him in the regular season. I don't know if that's if he's on the Knicks and playing for Thibodeau, that's just not the case. I don't know if he's able to get away with it. That's probably the one extreme example, but as of right now, I would bet no, but it's definitely now eyes are like, okay, definitely going to be locked on Jimmy Butler, because we don't really have another unhappy star. Like, we've got Mitchell, obviously, in the Cavs. Once that playoff series ends, those rumors are going to get cranked up to 100. Phoenix, maybe, but I mean, after this Minnesota series, who really knows? And they just, at the time of recording this too, they've signed Coach Bud now to a contract. So they got Budenholzer locked down as their coach. Yeah. I think that went official.
Yeah, they got rid of Frank Vogel
earlier this week. And I think while we're recording this, they locked down Budenholzer, which was the rumors from the get-go once Vogel had left as well too. But if they're bringing in a coach like that, they're probably going to, and you had said this last week too as well, I think, where you said Durant is more likely to get traded in the trade deadline versus get traded in the offseason. But if we're looking for offseason drama, where else do we look right now besides, I guess, maybe the Bucks? Would you rank the Jimmy Butler situation?
Yeah, maybe the Bucks.
Would you have, who is more likely to leave first, Jimmy Butler or Giannis?
Well, Jimmy Butler has already talked about plans to play with another team.
Yes.
Apparently, he's half Brazilian and wants to go play in Brazil. So, who knows? I don't, this may be a whole Russell Wilson, I'm going to go play baseball thing, because we have seen that. But, yeah, I think Giannis leaving, he'll give, in my opinion, I think he'll give Dame another chance just because he was injured again. But Dame's defense, it's very interesting to see how much, people kind of forgot about it. And then he came to this playoffs and it's like, oh, he's still bad on defense. It doesn't matter if he's on a good team or not. So, and it's only going to get worse as he gets older. So, yeah, we'll have to see how frustrated Giannis might get this next year. We'll see that anger level. But I think Jimmy Butler, I don't think there's anything serious here. I think it's just, it's the usual Heat stuff. He told, he was about to fight his coach.
Him and Spoelstra you're right. Him and Spoelstra have always had a little, there's been some tense moments in the past. Jimmy Butler's known to have tense moments with the coach. Pause.
Exactly. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything serious here. They're always on edge over with the Heat.
Do you think the Jaquez piece makes this a little bit more interesting at all, where you don't Jaquez is not, he's going to be the lead scorer on a title team, but he is a guy who can get you a buck. Neither is Bam, but Hawkins is a guy who can get you a bucket. So at least if you're making a Jimmy Butler trade, it's not like, oh, we have to get a shot maker back like that because we have Hawkins who can supplement that a little bit. If they were to make a Jimmy Butler trade and it was more some wings, but we're also getting some picks, and it's like, okay, we have Hawkins and Hero, and maybe, Hero is not long for the ride after that point as well, too, if they want to go in a different direction. But, it's like, okay, we have Hawkins who can create a little bit, and then Bam is the defense and can be the stalwart that he has a little bit. Like, having that where you have Bam at 26, like, would it almost be in the Heat's favor to try to look somewhere else with Jimmy? Like, do you still think that this version of the team with Jimmy Butler has legs as a contender like that? Or do they have an out here now to go, oh, maybe there is some stuff that's happening. Like we're saying, there's word on the street now. Like, are the Heat's the one that should be looking to say, maybe secretly we're seeing what we can get?
They should. I don't think they will, but they should. I mean, Jimmy Butler does, live out Heat culture. So I get why, he has thrived so well with the team. But I do think that the shout out to Naz Reid for getting Sixth Man of the Year, first in franchise history, first player to do that. So shout out.
Their teams have historically have never been that deep. Apparently, they've our teams have only ever had like two good players.
But I do think with the Heat, if I were them, I would be looking for a trade for sure. Jimmy Butler is getting older. You can't. It's tough to tell what the fall off is because he kind of doesn't try in the regular season. I mean, I don't think anyone's honestly arguing for him to be all NBA. And so if you're resting, most of the season, then you're only really played tough for, 15 games? I mean, imagine if LeBron did that. I mean, I'd argue he probably might have another ring. Who knows? But I think for the Heat, now that you have Jaime Jaquez, you have a long-term piece there. So it's even easier to trade Tyler Hero. And you have him, you have Bam. So, I mean, I think they do need a guard. They do need a ball handler at least. I don't know who, I think it would be a great team if, say, Devin Booker, if he wants to get out of Phoenix,
Whoa.
You trade Jimmy Butler over there. I don't know. I mean,
you're saying Booker for
Devin Booker
for Butler?
Good. Yeah.
Whoa.
I don't know. If Booker is like, get me out of here, and they're like, oh, we don't have enough teams.
With Durant like that?
I think Butler would be the best trade. No, Durant wouldn't like that. He would probably hate it. I mean, you're losing a young, great player. But I don't know. I don't think Booker is leaving, but they need a shooter. I don't know. Does Curry want a retirement area? I don't know, man.
I didn't do like I didn't do a full deep dive on the trade machine, but my initial instinct was like, okay, who is the team that would, aging superstar that he can fit with other, older superstar? Like, would you, but if you're the Heat, would you be
76ers?
Would you be interested in like a Austin Reeves, Hachimura, get a couple of the Lakers picks, throw a couple of the young guys in there? Where, I mean, Hachimura is a nice role guy, but it's Reeves, some picks.
Reeves would be the main thing you'd want for that. Maybe D'Lo, maybe.
Make the contracts work?
Yeah, I think Austin Reeves.
Is Austin Reeves good enough?
And then if you're... Yeah, I think he's good enough. I mean, especially depending on the age. And if Jimmy Butler is leaving the Heat, it's going to be pretty ugly. So...
LA puts him in the same type of city as well, too. I think he needs to be in that kind of a warm weather, kind of lit city.
Yeah, I think Austin Reeves would be a great Heat guy. I don't know about Hachimura, but Reeves he's a tough player. Like he plays
You got to make
hard.
the contracts work. You got to put somebody in the trade.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to put. Yeah.
Plus, the Lakers just don't have.
I mean, that's where you have D'Lo. So.
Even still, Reeves is the thing is Reeves only at like 11 million. So D'Lo at 17. I think you might need
Yeah.
to do all three of those guys to make it work, and then picks, and then
Yeah.
maybe you throw in like a Hood Shafino just to spice it up a little bit. But
That's why they drafted him. Jeez.
probably. But I mean, then you have LeBron, Butler, and Davis.
Yeah, I think, and they'd be happy with that.
But like you're saying, he's 34.
Well,
So
I don't know. Butler would. I think Butler. He would cause issues immediately. You know, whose team is this? It's a whole nother Westbrook situation. Another older star who can't shoot threes.
the thing is, Butler would have to go to a team that needs to win like right now, but also is a little not like OKC that's like we can win right now, but they're also in a great position. They're in a team that's like we have no choice but to win right now. Oh, I just thought of this. What about Boston? Jimmy Butler to Boston?
Nah.
Jimmy Butler for Jaylen Brown?
I don't know. I don't think it. No, Jaylen Brown's been great this year. Also, Jaylen Brown's
too good,
pretty young. The Cavs, Donovan Mitchell. There we go. We found the trade. Donovan Mitchell for Jimmy Butler.
Butler would hate that.
I think
Butler in Cleveland.
Well, if you're trading him, I don't think you're really caring about what he thinks.
That would be the Pat Riley FU to Butler. You're going to Cleveland.
It would be. But I think Donovan Mitchell would be a great piece for this team. I think Donovan Mitchell would be exactly what they need.
Can I be honest?
He's
if
a ball
you can
handler, he's a guard.
If you could get
stuff, what were we saying?
If you could get Mitchell for Butler, I think you got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Especially after with what Mitchell's been doing in these playoffs. I don't know if we don't have to get to the Celtics right now, but
yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying think Mitchell could be your lead guy, but you got to get him.
I mean, if Mitchell really wants to leave the Cavs and they're like, okay, let's get something, something out there, even if they're not going to stay around, at least you can get Butler, at least get a star, maybe get him to like the place. Who knows? But there aren't a lot of teams out there. I mean, maybe something with the Clippers, Paul George for him if they sign and trade.
Paul George for Butler?
Yeah.
I'd be mad aggressive for the Clippers. You couldn't get him for Norman Powell and Terrence Mann? The Clippers have no picks.
No.
The Bones Highland. Hey, could we talk into Bones Highlands as a lead guard?
Yeah. No.
Throw him into the trade?
Couldn't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, outside of maybe Curry, there ain't much else I can see.
What about Butler for Porter?
Porter Jr.?
Michael Porter Jr.?
No, they wouldn't do that. Plus, if you're
who wouldn't do that?
You need a ball handler, man. You don't need another forward who's stiff with the ball. I mean, they need a playmaker. They need someone to run that offense. And Jimmy Butler, he does an okay job of that. I mean, last year they had really good guard play from Gabe Vincent, from Caleb Martin. But yeah, they need guards. I don't know. Maybe you can dumpster dive with the Grizzlies. Is there something there?
Ooh.
They move up that timeline, get a big three.
Bane?
Desmond Bane? I think Bane could be good.
Bane for Butler?
I think that might be the move. Because then the Grizzlies, it's their big move, They're trying to recover from last year. They need someone to give them toughness and there'd be another superstar in the West. And I think Bane would stick around with Miami, and it would turn back the clock in Miami. You have Jaime and Bane and Bam. At least have some youth, hope. Duncan Robinson. I mean, that team sounds kind of good. Duncan Robinson in the corner.
And then you'd have Butler and Ja and Jaren Jackson as your big three.
That's not bad. No one can shoot threes, but that's not bad. Besides Jaren's the best 3-point shooter out of them all. Yikes.
Is the ceiling of that big three higher than any. If say you have like a 3-year run with Jimmy Butler, is that ceiling with those three higher than any 3-year period that you would get with Bane in that big three?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean,
I kind of like that. It's a
Jimmy
good trade.
Butler has carried teams to the finals. You know, he's carried a team to the finals, like multiple teams. So, you know, obviously Desmond Bane. You know, his story isn't finished written yet, but we'll see if he can reach a peak like that.
It does also look like the Grizzlies are stashing a couple of picks, a couple of swaps.
Yeah, no, they got picks. They got players. Grizzlies have stuff to trade, which they might have to because they got a lot of players on that team.
Yeah, they got a bunch of the Phoenix picks. This is a good trade. If you could get some of those picks and Bane, that's not bad. That is not bad.
I think this is a trade that could actually happen.
You might have to DM Pat Riley.
Grizzlies, I mean, last year was so bad.
Hit up the Grizzlies right now.
Is Bolster on Instagram?
And plus, you have like Marcus Smart, John Morant. Like, are the Grizzlies become the Heat of the West? Like, they kind of can't shoot, but they're like really tough, and they're like, you know, imagine Marcus Smart and John Morant and
Jimmy Butler, Marcus Smart and Jimmy Butler on the same team. Holy Lord!
Fighting in practice.
That would
fighting each other so hard.
Taylor Jenkins would have to get a gold medal for that, coaching that team.
But yeah, I mean, they would be
Jackson?
a better team. I mean,
what if you could get Bane and GG Jackson for Jimmy Butler?
I mean, do you think the team as it is now is a top 3 team in the West? Like, are they cracking that top 3 with that big 3?
With GG Jackson as the 4th guy? Bane, Ja, Jaren, and GG Jackson. Well, they're not better than the Thunder. Probably not over the Spurs. So
yeah. Okay. But like over Minnesota, I don't think they're better than Minnesota like that.
Are they set up better for the future than Minnesota? Probably not. Probably not. You're still picking Jokic.
Exactly. So they're 4th. So I mean. And then you can't even get. I mean, if there's 3 other teams above you and you're looking to be a championship contender, like, you know.
Well, we know Ishbia wouldn't trade his team for Grizzlies.
Is young. Yeah, well, Anthony Edwards is young. You know, the OKC is the youngest team in the league, or one of the youngest. So, I don't see no reason why not to bring in Jimmy Butler. You know, who knows? I mean. How long do you have John Morant actually playing games? You need someone to be there to be the number 1 option, or you could see it fall off a cliff like it did. So, you know, as long as they don't become the IR team again, like, hopefully.
Not too far from Nashville. Jimmy Butler and Theo Vaughn hooking up. I think Jimmy Butler could work on. I think him in Tennessee could be pretty fun. He has Cowboy vibes.
Yeah, exactly. It could be his last stop before he goes to Brazil.
Brazil. This is Brazil.
I guess apparently we want to talk about Rashee Rice trying to end his career. I don't know. Rashee Rice, So Rashee Rice was involved.
I honestly just put that in there to give you a hard time about your team.
Hurt. And then now apparently he lured a victim back to the club and assaulted him or her. I don't know the victim. But so let's just say I don't know what is going on with this man's. He's trying everything to mess it up. He really is. So let's see. He was in his car driving. I don't know. I'm surprised he was allowed to.
Rashee Rice is gonna have to walk places if the Chiefs are like Rashee Rice. You just have to walk. No cars for Rice.
So the person who complained thought that Rashee Rice wanted to hire him to take pictures, and then when he returned, he was made aware of where the suspect was because of all the entourage. Suspect being Rashee Rice, and then when he got there. The Rashee Rice wanted to look at his cell phone, and he saw that messages were being sent from him to someone's name who's been redacted. And so then once the complaint was looking down at Rashee Rice's phone, Rashee Rice punched the complaint on the left side of his face. He had visible swelling. So
really the guy just needs an ice pack.
Exactly. I don't know. Some people are saying there was a verbal altercation. Witnesses are saying they didn't see the punch. So there's reasonable doubt. So chances are he's going to get off on it. I don't know. Bro, just stop. Just stop. Like, can we not do this? Like, is it so hard to just, like, you can go to the bar without causing drama? Like, I don't know if he's hanging out with Mahomes' little brother out here and, can't go out on a night without causing a case. Jeez Louise. But
I did cut that out.
It's not that hard. It is not that hard to go out at night and not cause drama. Just, oh gosh, I don't know, man.
This is tough. This is your best receiver.
But I know. But, I mean, one punch to the face does sound a lot better than assault, as assault can be, stomping someone who knows where. So, it does. There definitely seems like there's a way out of this. There's no video. It doesn't become serious until there's a video, like the car crash did. So, I don't know, but I gotta, I think everything's gonna be fine. It shouldn't be. He should get punished in some way if he did it. But I have a feeling it won't stand in court. If witnesses are saying there's no punch, it's gonna be tough to beat that.
Did he just have his friend punch him and he's trying to blame it on Rice?
Maybe.
It would not be surprising. I mean, the thing is Rice has money and he's like well known. I don't know if this took place in Kansas City, but I mean, football fans would know Rashee Rice. So if there's, this is very common with people.
He's on a Super Bowl champion team.
Yeah, with famous people and people with money, if there's any chance that you can over exaggerate to, make $1 off them, you're probably gonna do it.
And one punch too. Like, you're telling me his whole face was swollen. I don't know, man.
Like, so if this happens and it's not two famous people, what happens? You call the police. If it gets that dramatic, the police show up. Like, you press charges.
They don't hear.
Yeah, it's like it fizzles out, and they kind of probably just tell everybody to go back to their own corner at some point. If it was just, if it was just one punch. So hopefully I'm reading this right.
I'm more surprised he didn't get stomped out by the entourage.
By Rice's entourage?
Yeah.
You're saying Rice has a bad entourage?
I mean, what's security thing?
His boys don't have his back?
No, I'm saying exactly. Like, what's going on?
You're saying one of Rashee Rice's boys got to step up so the NFL receiver doesn't have to do it?
Yeah, it's probably one of his entourage who punched him. I don't know. John Morant got away with, threatening a kid on a court. So
it was called self-defense.
I think Rashee Rice will be fine.
They did rule that one self-defense, so you never know with this Rashee Rice one.
Exactly. You never know. Never know. Quickly going into entertainment, or maybe not quickly. Kendrick